Respected elders, dear brothers and sisters. Now we are going to have an interesting session, very informative session on bleeding red, the violent politics of the left. Because most of us, I would say, even the highly educated people, do not know the violent part of the leftist politics, leftist ideology. So we thought we should expose these people because they are acting against the interests of the nation since their birth, 1925. That is why even scholars like Dr. B.R. Ambedkar are completely against it. So we have Dr. Anirban Ganguly. He is from West Bengal. He is the chairman of the Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Research Foundation. He is an author. And he has studied civilizational history very deeply, so he writes regularly for newspapers. He has edited many books, so he'll be focusing on West Bengal leftist violence.
The New Indian Express stopped my column because I was writing too much on left violence.
Yeah. Yes. First, I will give an introduction, then Dr. Ganguly will be speaking. After that, I will narrate a few instances from Kerala because we are very near to them. You know, communism is the most violent political ideology in the world. This we have to understand. It's the most violent ideology. So that is why it has killed. There was a professor, Professor Rodolph Joseph Rummel. He was professor earlier with Iowa University, earlier with Yale, was working in different universities. He was a political science professor. You know, for about 30 years, he has been documenting the communist violence across the world. He has written many books, Death by Government. There are several books. And he says, he has estimated that 148 million people, 148, almost 15 crore people were murdered, killed by the communist ideology, by the government, communist governments. In fact, he gives one statement. All the governments in the 20th century, they have killed 221 million people, 21 crore, 211 million people, 21 crore, of which 14.8 crores killed by communist governments alone, almost 70% of the murders. That too in just 70 years, between 1917 and 1987. We all know, even in Kerala, I will quote a few instances later as to how killings take place after Pinarayi Vijayan became chief minister since 2016. So this is communism for us. I have made a rough calculation. If we take the annual deaths by communist governments between 1917 and 1987, on an annual average of murders was 21.1 lakh annual. Daily, 5,792. So between 1917 and 1987, communists, wherever they were in power across the world, they have been killing 5,792 people. You know, this we have to keep in mind. So they resort to mass killing through variety of means: executions, famines, death through forced labor, deportation, starvation, imprisonment. In fact, Professor Rummel coined a new word for this kind of deaths. He calls it as domicide, death by government. Deaths by government. So this is how communists have been killing people all across the world since 1917. This we have to understand. In India also, we will be explaining a few aspects of it. It will show as to how the communists have been killing our own people wherever they are in power. So first point I want all of you to understand is communism is the most violent ideology in the world, and as a result of which they have killed the highest number of people anywhere in the world. Thank you. Now I'll invite Dr. Anirban Ganguly to speak on Bengali violence, violence in West Bengal.
Bengali violence. Bengalis are not inherently violent people.
Yes.
So
Yeah, you can sit.
I want to thank the organizers of Western Ghat Lit Fest. It's so musically named also, and also Shefali Vaidya ji, who continues to inspire all of us, and to do such fundamental work on narrative building despite great odds and challenges. And I want to also thank Professor Kanagasabapathi ji. He's the secretary of the organization of which I am the chairman. That part of the introduction remained. And I want to thank all of you. You know, this is the last session. I didn't expect that there will be so many people still continuing to be here to hear about violence. All the previous sessions have been so sublime. They have been so creative, so inspiring. To end a Lit Fest with a valedictory session on political violence, it also shows the commitment of the organizers of this Lit Fest to, you know, to the greater democratic ideal and spirit that India represents. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity and for being here. And Nandakumarji, had he been here, it would have really also been very interesting, but he had to leave. He was there earlier today. Now you see, I don't know where to start with, because one is that we could easily get into a conversation format after a while, and I don't want to make it just a monologue. But as Professor mentioned, now the dilemma with West Bengal today is that it is not only communist violence. Communist violence in West Bengal is history. It is now lumpen violence that we are witnessing in West Bengal. But it is a continuation of the tradition that the communist, violent tradition that the communists had initiated in West Bengal and perpetrated for the last 4 decades that they were in power, nearly 4 decades that they were in power. And that has been continuing now in a much more crass form, without the bindings of an ideology or of a party structure. The communists perpetrated violence in the name of ideology. They took control. They controlled through violence. They had an ideology. They had a political structure. And in the name of that ideology, through that political structure, in the name of emancipating the people, the proletariat, they carried out violence. Today, the violence in West Bengal has gone beyond a certain level and limit. We come to that later. But primarily, let us focus on communist violence. Of course, I think Comrade P.R. Natarajan must be in Delhi protesting against Israel in support of Hamas. So you in Coimbatore, you know what communists and what communism are. Now, West Bengal is a very peculiar state. You must remember that even during the British period, when the British took control of West Bengal in 1757, of Bengal in that sense, the first major famine, there were no famines before that, and in that sense, the first major famine was in 1770. It completely destroyed the social fabric of West Bengal, besides killing millions of people. And when the British left in 1947, they again gifted one last mega famine, that was in 1943, the Great Bengal Famine, which killed 3 million plus people, and it is the 80th year of the Bengal Famine this year. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee had a towering role in famine relief, in mitigating the effects of that famine. He resigned his position as a minister in the Bengal government, but that's altogether another story. and how the Muslim League took advantage, how the Muslim League took advantage of the famine and started even converting. The Razakars of the Muslim League were active. They started converting people in the name of famine relief. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee had to step in. And whereas the Hindu Mahasabha conducted famine relief every day, the Hindu Mahasabha would feed up to 4 lakh people, give them medical aid, distribute grains, open kitchens where food was served, cooked and served by the Hindu Mahasabha. Even the British intelligence had to accept that the Hindu Mahasabha was a force to reckon with, and it did not differentiate between communities and between religion. We must remember that the majority of those affected in the Bengal famine were landless peasants who were majority were Muslims, because that was undivided Bengal. And the Hindu Mahasabha did not make a single distinction. It served everyone equally, but the Muslim League continued with their politics. I am just giving you this background for this reason, that perhaps Bengal is the only state which has faced 3 partitions, one can say. In 1905, the Bengal partition, the first partition, the British brought it about because they wanted to stymie the nationalist forces. It was annulled in 1911 and the capital was shifted to Delhi. Professor, you can stop me if I go on and on, I mean, because, yes, people like us don't get such audiences often, so, yes, and such an erudite audience also, and people so patiently listening. Usually we are used to that sloganeering kind of an audience. So the second partition was in 1947. That partition saved a portion of Bengal and the creation of West Bengal. It is the 75th year of West Bengal also. As we celebrate 75 years of independence, we should also reflect on the formation of West Bengal 75 years ago. West Bengal was formed as a homeland for the Bengali Hindu. Let there be no ambiguity in that. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee saved a portion of Bengal because at that time a few Congress leaders, among them Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose's elder brother. Please remember, in 47 Netaji had already disappeared. His elder brother Sarat Chandra Bose and Suravardi, H.S. Suravardi, who was the kingpin of the 1946 Direct Action Day. Suravardi, Sarat Chandra Bose and Kiran Shankar Roy of the Congress, they decided to float a theory of united, sovereign, independent Bengal. A united, sovereign, independent Bengal, had it happened, would have a Muslim League and a Muslim majority. It would be a Muslim majority province with a Muslim League government. I'll tell you why I'm coming to this. I'll tell you why I'm giving you this background. I'm leading you to that. So, Shyama Prasad Mukherjee threw cold water. He threw a spanner into this. He told Gandhiji had he started exploring the idea. Sardar Patel, Shyama Prasad Mukherjee said, I have only one condition. Let Suravardi say, give it in writing, that united, independent, sovereign Bengal, after it has been formed, should not accede to Pakistan. Will Suravardi give this in writing? Because you see, with a Muslim League government, with a Muslim majority province, what would stop anyone from passing a resolution in the assembly and saying that we want to merge with Pakistan? That is exactly what they tried with J&K. They tried that with Tripura also. That is another story, some other day. And Suravardi was not willing to give that undertaking. And Sardar Patel stepped in. The entire Bengal Congress leadership, the Bengal Congress of today doesn't even know its history. They don't even know that they sided with Shyama Prasad Mukherjee in bifurcating Bengal. And debate took place in the undivided Bengal Assembly, voting took place, and all the Hindu MLAs of Bengal Assembly voted for division of Bengal. And the criteria were 2. One was that West Bengal to be created as a homeland for the Bengali Hindu and as an integral part of the Indian Union. this is our legacy. This is Shyama Prasad Mukherjee's legacy. And Jinnah had said he wants Calcutta for 6 months. Sardar Patel said not even for 6 hours. And the moment Jinnah realized that Calcutta won't be part of his Pakistan, he lamented publicly, what is Pakistan without Calcutta? Or what is East Bengal without Calcutta? So the idea was this. Now what was the role of the communists in this? The communists said, like we said we don't want division of Bengal. We want the entire Bengal to stay in India. But if we see that you are trying to send entire Bengal to Pakistan, we oppose it. We want a division. We want the Hindu majority provinces to come to India. This was our stand. The communists said, and Comrade Jyoti Basu was an MLA at that time, he said, we don't want division of Bengal, but we want the whole of Bengal to go to Pakistan. Because we feel that Pakistan has a legitimate right to exist. And India is not a nation. It is a congery of 17 nationalities. That was the resolution they passed. And since then, they started supporting every Muslim League program which demanded Pakistan. And in 1946 direct action, what was Comrade Jyoti Basu's stand? His stand was, we will support the Muslim League Hartal wherever it is necessary. We will oppose it wherever it is required. This was the communist stand. Now, after independence, after partition, it is unfortunate that Shyama Prasad Mukherjee died, was rather killed in Kashmir in 1953, 23rd June. Since after that, the entire refugee population that started coming in, I'm skipping, Shurjoda, I'm skipping phases because we have a focus in this. The entire refugee movement, the communists started taking control of it. I'll give you one example. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee demanded sanction against Pakistan. Why? Because Pakistan is unable to give protection to its minorities. He demanded sanctions. The communists took out a procession in the streets of Calcutta saying that against Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, raising slogans against him, saying that he must be sanctioned and not Pakistan. 30 years in West Bengal, for 30 years from 1947 to 77, it was Congress rule. From 1967 to 77, the 10 years that saw the rise of the CPIM, the Communist Party, was a period, a decade of instability. In 1967, the Communists managed to come to power in a coalition government with a breakaway faction of the Congress, the Bangla Congress. And Comrade Jyoti Basu became the Home Minister in that government. Now imagine, this United Front government lasted in 2 terms for about 2.5 years or so, not more than that. Ajay Mukherjee, one of the stalwarts of the Swadeshi movement, a stalwart freedom fighter, was the Chief Minister. Jyoti Basu was the Home Minister. It is the first time in history, in that sense, that one sees a coalition partner hooting against, hounding the Chief Minister of that coalition. The communists declared, being part of the government, they declared a war against its own government. And they would do it at a very crass level. They would hoot at the Chief Minister, they would threaten him, they would carry out processions, all through in order to be able to maintain their control. Now before this, if you remember, first time Calcutta witnessed violence was in 1953 when the government decided to raise the tram fares by 1 paisa. It's called the Ek Paisar Andolan. Ek Paisa Ka Andolan. What did the communists do? Under the leadership of Comrade Jyoti Basu, they started burning trams. They completely brought Calcutta to a standstill. The people of Calcutta had not seen that before. And I'll give you a very an interesting aside. just after Direct Action 46. I mean, want to give you this aside to show how the mind works. After Direct Action 1946, towards the end of August, Suravardi called for an all-party meeting, all-community meeting. So the Congress would be represented by a leader, Kiran Shankar Roy. The Hindu Mahasabha representing the Hindus would be represented by Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, and Suravardi representing the Muslim League. Suravardi put in Comrade Jyoti Basu's name in it also. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee said, look, I understand that I represent the Hindu Mahasabha, you represent the Muslim League, Kiran Shankar Roy represents the Congress. Whom does Jyoti Basu represent? Which community? He's not even the largest party, not even remotely the... So this atat between the Muslim League and the communists were there right at the beginning. And this legacy of violence has been carried forward. It's a legacy of the Muslim League that was very beautifully in quote, very artfully carried forward by the communists. And they realized that political control can be had through violence. And a series of violence continued. There was food protests. It was violent. But let me also remind you, and I think these things must be discussed. Perhaps someday we can write a book. Sandeep Balakrishna and myself, we had planned to actually write a book on these issues, but it never took off because all of us have our commitments, various pulls and pressures. You see, if you look at the legacy, inherently violent, and the moment they saw that it is possible to control through violence, they did that. And I'll give you 2-3 examples. We know that. The moment they came to power, they initiated the Marijhapi massacre. Aaj Tak has done a very, just a few weeks back, an entire Aaj Tak team went to Marijhapi. They worked out. And they've done a very nice story. I'll circulate it in the WhatsApp. One of the latest stories. They interviewed the survivors and all that also. 8 to 10,000 people were killed. Who were they? Bengali Hindu refugees, mostly Dalits. So before they came to power, these communist party leaders would go to various states in India where these refugees were rehabilitated. You know, they were rehabilitated in Andaman Nicobar, in Dandakaranya, in Madhya Pradesh, in Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh also. So they would go and tell them, look, once we come to power, we will bring you back to West Bengal and you will live with your heads held high. In 77, when the Communist Party government was formed, these refugees started clamoring for coming back to West Bengal. You know, anyone who has lived in East Bengal, a land primarily full of rivers, rivulets, tributaries, green, lush green, with a lot of humidity in the air, with a lot of colors, who would want to go and live in a desert, in a dry, arid region? They all wanted to come back. They were not allowed to come back. In spite of that, they started coming back. And they said, look, we don't need any rehabilitation. All that we need is, please let us settle in this island of Marijhapi. We will look after ourselves. We don't need anything else. We will fend for ourselves. This was anathema to the communists. They did not want a huge mass of refugees coming and settling there beyond their control. So imagine, please read Deep Haldar's book. I mean, many of you have read, I'm sure. He also had a lot of problem in trying to write it down. There are first-hand accounts in that book. It will bring tears to your eyes. For 40 years, the communists are so clever that they succeeded in completely whitewashing what is one of the biggest, not one, the biggest massacre, genocide in independent India. In 1979, January.
The biggest Dalit massacre.
Dalit massacre.
In India.
I am leaving aside Bengali Hindus. Dalit massacre also. Please look at it that way. The biggest Dalit massacre, and they shout about Gujarat. They scream about, they have been screaming about Gujarat for 15 years, 20 years, because they have, whitewashed their crimes for the last 4 decades. Wells were poisoned, kids were killed, old, infirm women, elderly who could not, seniors who could not leave their huts were burnt along with their huts. Obviously, these people will support Hamas, no, today. Same strand, same mentality, same modus operandi. What Hamas is doing today, they did 40 years ago. So there is a certain amount of kinship. And wells poisoned, and the police came and shot. And later on, when one of the communist ministers, even now when the book was written, was asked how many people were killed, he said, 5 people, not more than that. 5 to 8 people, not more than that. And the official reason for that given was that Marijhapi is a protected forest area. These refugees would come and destroy that, and therefore we have done this police action. Again, unparalleled in history, where you carry out a genocide in order to protect a forest. So, this was one. Then in the 1980s, you know how they burned, they killed, they doused with petrol Ananda Margi nuns, monks and sannyasis, sadhavis on Bijan Setu. That Setu is still there. Taina? And every year we still carry out some kind of protest, but after all,
What's past is the propaganda they did that these guys are harmful, that they're
yes,
some kind of evil creatures. You stay away.
You stay away. And an entire generation was brought up on that.
Yes.
That Anand Margi is chele dhora. They kidnappers. They're kidnappers. So this contempt for the Bhagwa, this contempt for the ochre, the color, color of the sannyasi. In broad daylight, they burnt, they doused them with petrol in the heart of Kolkata, South Kolkata, doused them with petrol and burned them to death. In broad daylight. On a main thoroughfare. And I don't want to sound, sound it that way. We have rice mixed with rasam. We have rice with tair sadam we have. But obviously the communists like to have rice mixed with blood. The Sain Bari killing in 1970s, early 1970 in Bardhaman, there was this Congress family which was very staunchly Congress. The communist cadres at that time, 67 to 77, that 10 years, they carried out a lumpenization of Bengal which was unthinkable. The Bengali political class was not ready, had never faced this kind of lumpenized politics. And so they went and killed these two brothers as they had sat down to have their lunch. They were decapitated, and that blood was mixed with rice, and the mother of those two brothers, the mother was forced fed that rice, and she completely became insane. Till the last day she remained insane. And one of the kingpins went on to become a minister in the communist government. So this is their legacy. Not once, not twice. Throughout, we know the Nandigram massacre. We know the Nanur massacre, where 11 landless peasants of the minority community were killed. And these communists, imagine, could not survive for a day, not even a month, in East Pakistan or East Bengal after partition. They said, we'll build the Communist Party of Pakistan. Within a month, they were put behind bars. And Comrade Ila Mitra, I would request, because there are many of my elders, my sisters and mothers also here, like my mothers. Comrade Ila Mitra, many those who are students of Bengal's political history know, she was an extremely bold communist leader in undivided Bengal. The peasant movement, she was one of the leaders of peasant movement, supporting tribal emancipation, etc., blah, blah, blah. She was imprisoned. She was tortured to hell, molested, physically abused. And then as a nervous wreck, half dead, Ila Mitra was left on parole and she came to India. They had decided, no, we will not come to India. We will continue to live in East Pakistan. In India, she was rehabilitated. She got elected. She became a member of the Legislative Assembly and carried on her politics. So had West Bengal not been there, where would Comrade Ila Mitra come? And if you look at my timeline, it's in Bengali, but if you look at my timeline on my Facebook page today, even today, the choicest abuse that the communist, that the choicest abuse that Shyama Prasad Mukherjee is given are from the communists. 55,408 deaths between 1977 and 2009. I am not saying this. Devabrata Bandyopadhyay, one of the senior most IAS officers, he was the Secretary Agriculture when the land reform movement took place in 1977 after the communists came to power. Devabrata Bandyopadhyay later on became a Rajya Sabha member from the TMC. His computation says between 1977 and 2009, the peak of communist rule in West Bengal, 55,408 political killings took place in West Bengal by the communists. Mamata Banerjee is carrying out that legacy. They did soft appeasement, she is doing hard appeasement. We can get into that in the conversation. But, so many such examples. Many such examples. And they got away with it. You see, they got away with it. I mean, I can give so many such examples where even IPS officers were butchered instigated by communist ministers. And they created an entire web of two levels. And I'll finish with that.
Yes.
One was for the rural crowd. What was that? Every time an election came, there would be these bike-borne armed squads going around in the villages. They were known as the Harmads. They would go around in the villages and they would threaten because in the village you more or less know who votes for whom, which family supports whom. They would go around saying, don't step out and vote because otherwise, and they would carry around shrouds, and they would say, otherwise the ladies of your house would have to wear this. So don't step out. This was for rural Bengal. And today the PDS camp that we are seeing in West Bengal, where the Trinamool ministers have completely outdone the others, it started during communist rule. Look here, this is a party which spoke in the name of the proletariat. They indulged in one of the worst PDS scams ever in independent India's history. They started it off. You allowed them to control parts of Kolkata city where their writ ran. They made bombs. Sometimes those bombs blasted off, and then you realized that you had bomb-making units just next to your house. So this was the two levels. And one thing you must know, which is not there in the book, and it's live, I don't mind, because Deep says the publisher insisted that he remove that. When the Marijhapi massacre took place, there was specific instruction that Muslim criminals, it's all right, I don't usually, Muslim criminals were released and asked to go to Marijhapi and carry out operations. So this is how the communists operated. So anyway, I can go on and on, but this was later on. This continues in other forms, in much more bloody forms today. And the Bantala case, where 3 women were mercilessly molested, government officers attached to the UNICEF also, and health department of the government, and they were done by CPM card holders, party members. And Comrade Jyoti Basu said, why do they go there? Ora keno jaye okhane. Why do they go there? So, you see the only shortcoming, the only thing what has happened is, they have been masters at whitewashing their crimes. Masters at whitewashing their crimes. It's time, and I am very happy that we have got this space, that it's time that we keep highlighting those. Marijhapi must continuously become a slogan. I have been to that place. I mean, you can still see tigers there. You see crocodiles. Anyway, so I just wanted to make a few of these. Yes.
Yes, we will have discussion later, little later. Kerala is no exception. Communists ruled West Bengal for 34 years, isn't it? But as far as Kerala is concerned, 5 years LDF, 5 years UDF, this is how it has been going on. And I have a vested interest also. In West Bengal, now you don't have an MP or MLA from Communist Party, Marxist Party.
Completely washed.
But unfortunately in Tamil Nadu, we have 4 MPs. Out of the 5 MPs of Communist, elected Lok Sabha MPs, 4 are from Tamil Nadu.
He has shown more maturity.
4 are from Tamil Nadu and 1 is from Coimbatore. So this is the point. You may be knowing, when this Unlawful Activities Prevention Act Amendment Bill came up for discussion and voting in Parliament in 2019, all parties including Congress supported this UAPA because it is against those who engage in unlawful activities. Of course, Azharuddin Owaisi opposed it. Along with Azharuddin Owaisi, who supported that bill? Who supported as Owaisi and who were against this bill? Communists. So communists are the most dangerous creatures. I will just go to the point directly and explain what has happened in the neighboring state of Kerala, because of which Coimbatore is also suffering during the last 30 years. If you see Kerala, now whenever they mention, they always mention Kerala's killing fields. You must have seen in newspapers, etc. So it is estimated that over the last 30-40 years, beginning with 1969, there were more than 300 people belonging to Sangha Parivar, RSS, BJP, other affiliated organizations who were killed by the communists. 300 persons. And Kannur is the political capital of Kerala Marxists. It was in Kannur, in Penayari village, first unit of the Kerala Marxists was established in the year 1939. And it is the most dangerous territory even today for the public. The first murder by the communists took place in 1969 in Talacheri Taluk. A Swayam Sevak by name Radha Krishnan, he was a tailor. He was killed, murdered by the leftist goons. And you know whose name figured in the FIR? Pinayari Vijayan. Pinayari Vijayan. As there were nobody to go against him to the police station, no action was taken against him. Very recently, 2 years back, the Kerala Congress President raised this matter and released the FIR also. Some of you may be knowing. So, Pinayari Vijayan was the culprit in the first murder of in Kerala. I will just mention 2-3 instances to present to you as to how the communists just don't kill our people, nationalists, but how brutal they are. It will be very, very disturbing when I explain this. In 1999, there was a school teacher, K.T. Jayakrishna Master. He was taking class in his school in Kannur district only. It was 10:35. He was Bharatiya Janata Party Yuva Morcha president. There was police protection provided to him, one police. He was standing outside. He disappears suddenly. Immediately leftist goons enter and he was killed in front of the students, 6th class students. If I remember right, 16 of them. Killed in front of them. Then left, there were, if I remember right, some 40 wounds or so all over his body. He was lying in a pool of blood. So they went out with all weapons, walked along the road with weapons in front of the public, in front of the police. No action was taken. Before leaving the place, they wrote in the classroom board, any of you who testify against this they will have to face the same consequences as KTR, Jai Krishna Master faced. So this is how they went. And the most important part of this is the Communist Party engaged the very senior lawyers, highest earning lawyers, top lawyers, went up to the Supreme Court.
Lot of castes there.
Yes, went up to the Supreme Court. All of them were freed except one. You know what happened after that? After that, all the killers, they were brought in a procession, garlanded. They were taken to the school, and in front of the classroom where Jai Krishnan was killed, there was a dais. They created a dais, and then they were all garlanded. State senior leaders, they all went there to appreciate their services, and it was broadcast on TV live. So this was the situation. The matter does not end there. One person who was jailed, after he came out, he was made the parent-teacher association of the same school. Can you believe it? Humiliation. They not only killed Jai Krishnan, they killed everybody in that area. Humiliation after humiliation. And this is what this leftist violence is. This we have to understand. And why he was killed? Because in 1996, 3 years earlier, the BJP district secretary Chandran was killed in front of his wife. That was a big blow to the party. Jai Krishnan filled that vacuum and he took responsibility for the growth of the party. As a result, he was killed. And it was reported that it took many years for the children to recover. Counseling took place for many years, several years. Can you believe 11-year-old children witnessing the murder of their teacher in front of all of them? This is one. Then in 2012, another incident happened. There were several, I narrate only 2-3. It will show us the gruesome nature of these leftists. There was one T.P. Chandrasekhar. He was a DIFI, Communist Leftist Union Youth Wing Secretary. He was with them only. He was a close follower of V.S. Achyutanandam, now senior most leader of the Kerala Communist Party. He was with Communist Party all along. But he developed some differences with them. So he left the party and promoted his own party called Revolutionary Marxist Party in 2012. And his party was growing. Immediately after he established his party, he contested the local body elections in Kozhikode district, Onchiyam, if I remember right, his village. They won the local body elections. So this irritated the Marxists. So as a result, while he was going in the bike, as usual they came in a car, threw petrol bombs, attacked him. He was 51 years old. In 51 places they attacked him. 51 deep wounds were there. Murdered, killed. And they did not stop there. So immediately after killing, of course, again this matter went to the court. Fortunately, communist cadre, they were all punished. Of course, they came out of the jail also. Some of you may be knowing that in Kerala jail, they have exclusive cells for them where they are provided with all facilities and all. So it is the Marxists, they glorify these people. It is the problem in Kerala. And the important part is that his followers erected a monument, memorial for him in his village. All over the years, it was getting destroyed every time, once in 2 years, 3 years. I was told that they have already repaired it, rebuilt it 5 times. Now his wife K.K. Rama has become an MLA, Vatakara Assembly constituency, and she recently gave an interview in which he had said that Penayari Vijayan has blood on his hands. This is what we said. Then the third instant, I quote, it will be more worrisome for us when we listen this. There was a senior RSS worker by name Uttaman. He was very ordinary people. In fact, most of the people killed were very, very ordinary people. And we have to remember here, these communists did not kill Sangha, RSS, BJP people alone. Kerala Congress leader had said that they had killed 28 of their own Congress people also. They have killed IUML, Muslim League people also. So for them, of course, the serious enemy opponent, important opponent is Sangha Parivar, BJP people, but they kill all others also. So this Uttaman, one Mr. Uttaman, was a bus driver, ordinary person. He was a very staunch follower of Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. So while he was driving in bus as usual, bombs were thrown at the bus. He stopped it. He was dragged out of the bus and he was killed in broad daylight in a district bazaar in front of all public in 2002. 2002. And the point is that the violence continued even after killing Mr. Uttaman. There were people who attended his funeral. They were returning in a jeep. So the jeep carrying Uttaman's relative, bombs were thrown at this jeep. His aunt, 70-year-old aunt, and the driver died. So this is how they were doing. And after 14 years in 2016, one Romit, 30-year-old RSS worker, was killed. Who was this Romit? Uttaman's son. So they killed the father first in 2002. 14 years later, his only son was killed. His mother Narayani openly appealed to the CPM leadership, said, kill me also, I have nobody to live with. So this is how violence continues in Kerala, our neighboring state, without most of us knowing about it, because as Anirban ji said, they don't allow this to get into the newspaper media because they know how to manage this media. So these are all just 3 instances, and I remember another important instance that happened, I think in 1990s, late 1990s. 3 young boys, ABVP workers, they were chased and they had no place to escape. They jumped into Pamba river. They wanted to escape. But while swimming, they have to come up, they have to breathe. So whenever they came out, they stoned them. All the 3 of them were died in the river. All the 3 of them. All young boys, 3 of them. And suppose, let us say, there are good officers. So what will happen to the good officer? I will just give one example. There was one Mr. Radhakrishnan, K. Radhakrishnan. By the way, he is a Dalit Hindu, very honest officer. He was put in charge of Muhammad Fasal murder case. Some of you may be knowing Kannur Muhammad Fasal murder case. In fact, many of these murders took place in Kannur, almost 1/3 of the murders. And I forgot to mention that this Uttaman's family house is just adjacent to Panayari Vijayan's family. Same village, same street, adjacent to Panayari Vijayan's family. So neighboring family, father was killed, son was killed. And this is how communism is killing people in Kerala. I mentioned this. There was one Kerala communist youngster, a worker by name Muhammad Fasal. He shifted his loyalty to NDF, National Democratic Front, an Islamic outfit. He was having followers. So the communist people thought if we leave it like that, then many of the particularly Muslim people will follow him. So they hatched a plan and he was hacked to death in 2006. For this, they appointed K. Radhakrishnan, a senior DSP at that time, as the investigating officer. And immediately after this murder takes place, Kodiyeri Balakrishnan, at that time Home Minister, announces that this is the work of RSS people, because the killers were wearing saffron clothes and they left a trishul near the body. So immediately Home Minister himself says, it is the work of RSS workers. And all around that area, people go in auto rickshaws, vehicles, and openly blare in loudspeakers that RSS people killed Muhammad Fasal. The area secretary gives names of 4 RSS workers to the police. They say that these are the people who have killed Muhammad Fasal, so you have to investigate them and send them to jail. Same day, Home Minister calls this Radhakrishnan and says, you have to take action within a week. He goes to the police station, he calls all the 4 of them and found out that they have nothing to do with the murder. Then he found out that it was the Kerala local communist leaders who were responsible for it. So he was writing that report. Immediately after the communist government comes to know about it, he was transferred. The case was handed over to crime department, some other department, not law and order, crime department. He goes on leave, this police officer Radhakrishnan. After 2 months back, he was called back. He joins duty. A Ganja case was registered against him.
Narcotics.
Narcotics.
This is very common in West Bengal also.
Oh.
Political, yes. Those who are very active, political opponents, especially youngsters, because it's non-bailable. So some of them are slapped with 18 such cases, so that they are hauled up and put in behind bars. Very common.
Yes.
Very common in West Bengal.
Before that, on the same day, what happens? While he was returning from the duty after joining, first day, night he was returning, he goes to a friend's house for dinner, he comes out, 20 CPIM goons attacked him, his spine was completely broken, nose broken. So he goes to the hospital, while he was remaining in the hospital, based on this Ganja case, case was filed against him. And he comes out, he fights it in the court, he did not get justice at the local level magistrate, goes to the High Court says this is political vendetta. This action was taken against a honest officer. This was the judgment. The Kerala communist government goes to the Supreme Court. Finally, after Supreme Court validating the High Court judgment, he was asked to join. Again another case was put up against him. No salary was given. All his perks were frozen. Seniority was affected. Meanwhile, you may be surprised to know, to maintain his family, he sell whatever property he had, house, he was not able to repay loan. Children's education suffered. He went to Karnataka, worked as a security officer in a private company to maintain his family. And after 4.5 years, again fighting in the court, he rejoins duty. He works there for 8 months, just before retirement, worked there for 8 months. On the day of retirement at 4:30 p.m., telegram goes to him, memo issued to him, as a result of which all perks, salary, arrears, everything was stopped. He was not getting anything at all. So in 2018, I remember he went to meet the same Panayari Vijayan, met with him, told him, if you don't give me salary, arrears and all, I have to commit suicide with my family. No action was taken. As far as I know, I don't know now, till 2021-22, no action was taken. This is because K. Radhakrishnan refused to file false charges against RSS people, against Sangha Parivar people. He knew that the culprits were these communists. Finally, of course, the case went and I think 3 or 4 communists were also punished. But this is how honest officers were hounded. Very recently, I'll end with this. Last week, October 21st or 20th, if I remember right, a university student by name Aradhana, an ABVP worker, she was distributing pamphlets in her college. Leftist goons pushed her into a room, locked that room, dimly lighted room. She was not allowed to come out of the room. She was wearing this she was asked to remove it. They pulled it out, and for more than 6 hours she was not allowed to come out. Principal could not do anything, police could not do anything. Finally his father had to come, go to the police station, and later he was released. So we all have to understand, in our neighboring state of Kerala, like in the case of West Bengal, they are engaged in violence, continuous violence. That is the reason why, they are in a way, not in a way, they are indirectly, openly supporting these jihadi elements, missionary elements. Otherwise, how could a Hamas leader talk to them via this technology medium? So we all have to understand this communists, wherever they are, they engage in all these violent criminal activities. Fortunately in Tamil Nadu they are not in power, but even otherwise they are supporting all these anti-national elements. So it is time for us to throw these people out of this democratic political system. That is the best thing Tamilians have to do. Unfortunately, out of the 5 Lok Sabha members, 4 are from Tamil Nadu. Thank you.
I think my point is they don't need to be in power anywhere physically, because they wield, in any case they wield power far more than their political clout. In Tamil Nadu, don't be too complacent, because your Aryavalam, or what do you call it? Aryavalam. They have started throwing petrol bombs and all that, also arresting workers, same pattern as in West Bengal.
In front of Raj Bhavan?
Inside they are lobbying, so it's moving that way.
So
We can have
questions? Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
I have 3 questions here, actually. One is simple one, but with not a very simple answer. Why is there a Sudavardi Avenue in Kolkata, that too in the prime location next to Park Maidan, when everybody knows what he has done?
So that is not named after the butcher. Suravadi was Vice Chancellor of Calcutta University. That is named after him.
But he was his father or something, right? No relation?
No.
Okay.
Fortunately. In fact, there's an interesting year. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, after he completed 2 terms, he was not given a 3rd term as Vice Chancellor. In those days, it used to be a 2 years term. So he was a total of 4 years. And so deliberately, they did not give him a 3rd term, and they gave it to Suravadi. So it is that Suravadi. Yeah.
The second question is, okay. The second question is, we've all talked about how communists start with the lumpenization of the street worker. My question is, why is lumpenization so easy to do with communist ideology? Why is it so easily possible? I mean, tomorrow if BJP decides to lumpenize the street worker, would it be that easy? No. So what is it about communist ideology that inherently desensitizes young people to violence? It makes them feel like it's completely normal.
Normal and age. Here I think you should all, Professor can give a better, I think that this system, a very systematic system of indoctrination that they have in the party. Like we have work and all that, but in the work, the topic of the work, the issue, we have at the core of every work is nationalism and the greatness of India. Here it is just the opposite. That systematic party classes, now it has stopped. But when they were in power, I don't know what the situation is in Kerala today. They are of course very happy with the Adani port. Pinarayi is very happy with that. It's good. So deep sea port. that party classes throughout these 40 years, they had an extreme effect. Now, this lumpenization, there are two things. One is in West Bengal. It's very interesting that West Bengal till the 1960s, despite suffering partition, despite suffering in 1943 one of the most debilitating famines, continued to be a lead state in terms of industrial output and commerce. It is with the advent of communists that went down. Now, in the last 35 years that they were in power, they destroyed industry, we all know that. They completely destroyed, politicized, completely destroyed education, universities, and what they did was very systematically, they ensured that investment ran out of West Bengal. Most of the major conglomerates shifted to Bombay and to Chennai and other places. So there is this entire section which has, which like the model is of Kashmir in the past, that pay them a pittance and tell them, hey, look, you just need to pelt stones. So that lumpenization is primarily from that category. I don't want to use the term lumpen proletariat, but it is that there are no avenues. You have completely shut them out. You have given them some basic indoctrination, and you have told them, look, this is what you need to do. So you need to go and hound people, prevent them from coming to vote, throw a few bombs in the apartments, in the apartment compound so that nobody comes out to vote, etc. This is your work. The other lumpenization, that kind of justification of violence, that the urban Naxals, which are obviously a very clear offshoot of the communists, whatever they say, the urban Naxals. They attended these classes, they were part of these classes, they were the ones who were resource persons also, and then this cold justification of violence. So I think there are two dimensions to this, and the TMC has actually latched on to that lumpen element, on the base lumpen element. And we have all seen it during our elections with the attacks on us. Even 2 months ago when the Panchayat election took place, you could see, I went and visited, I couldn't cover all the districts, but from Howrah to Nadia, I went and visited most of our workers, most of our people, even candidates, women candidates. One lady had undergone a cesarean operation a few weeks ago. She stood for elections, very popular in her village. She was kicked in her belly. And imagine this is happening in the villages where they know each other. She knows exactly who did it. They have been probably growing up together. So this kind of politicization which the communists did, and it has been now taken to that level.
There are party villages even today in Kerala. Party villages
liberated
even today.
Areas.
Of course, earlier we were not completely allowed to go inside the villages, but today things are changing.
You see, gram chada, to drive you out of village was a political weapon with the left.
No, you cannot go and do canvassing.
Nothing.
You cannot do anything.
Either socially boycotted or you are driven out of your village.
The party will decide which newspaper you have to read, which newspaper you have to buy and all. And apart from that, we have party campuses in Kerala. I don't know whether many of us know. The CPIM people do not allow ABVP, other Congress party unions to come up. So there are party campuses now. This is one. As far as Cephalogy's question is concerned, I don't remember the exact quotation. Lenin said in those days, we have to develop our party based on intense hatred. Intense hatred we should have to achieve success.
But when we see the story, listen to the story of Radhakrishnan, he has been suffering a lot with the financial issues and family matters and all. So what kind of backup did RSS give? Because RSS was to be blamed that time. They did not give proper support to Radhakrishnan. They did not back on him for his family support and all. So this kind of backup, if it is there, there will be honest officers who can do that. But if he is not at all backed up, then surely backing up of such honest officers will be actually regretting for being honest, and demonstration of these goons will be more and more encouraging in violence, That's what is the...
Sorry, time is running out. We will discuss personally.
Yes.
I'm here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
There's a small booklet which is available for free distribution, Bloodshed in West Bengal. So we just got it, put it together a little hurriedly, but you can take as many copies and distribute also.
Thank you, sir. I request Shri Sundar Ramachandran ji and Srimati Rama Menon ji to come up to the stage for the book launch of Dr. Ganguly's Upendra Nath Banerjee book.
This is about my. This is actually my great grandfather spent 12 years in the cellular jail. He was part of the first batch of political prisoners. He was an accused in the infamous Alipur bomb case, in which Sri Aurobindo was the principal accused. Sri Aurobindo was acquitted, but he, along with Ullaskar and Barin Ghosh and many others, were transported for life. And just about a few months after that, Savarkar ji also joined them in the cellular jail. And Savarkar ji quotes his book in my transportation for life. And his was the first memoir of life in cellular jail. The original was in Bangla, which became a classic in Bangla literature. And exactly 100 years ago, it was translated in English. He himself did the translation. So commemorating that and Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, I thought of reissuing it. And Professor Bibek Debroy wrote a foreword. And I have written an extensive introduction to it. And it reads that was the first memoir of how life was in cellular jail, so people got to know actually. So you have all that description, the kolu, etc. And the entire torture, the mental agony, and Ullaskar and all. So that's... Thank you for giving it a platform. It has not been released, so it can be... Yes.
I call on stage Shri and Srimati Krishna Kumar to present a memento to Dr. Anirban Ganguly.
May I now request Srimati Anuttama Ganguly to present a memento to Akshita, who's been doing a wonderful MC work for the last 2 days.
She said college.
Yes.